Hello guys, this is my very first fanfiction that I've written for this channel that I've actually completed. This is a one-shot, a My Hero Academia one-shot for Tamaki Amajiki and listener, or in your perspective. So there's no gender or orientation or anything, so you're able to put yourself in the storyteller's point of view. I do want to put a disclaimer out there that if you are sensitive for whatever reason with the fact of passing away, I do suggest not listening, not watching, because there is some connotations of that in this fan fiction. But other than that, I hope you enjoy, and here we go. Tamaki has always been a loner of sorts, never one to go out of his way to make friends due to his severe social anxiety. That was until his third year at UA, when the homeroom teacher introduced you to the class. That was the day your eyes met his for the first time, and it was followed by the biggest and friendliest smile he could never forget. No matter where you went, you always stood out like the sun amongst the stars. All he wanted to do was one day be able to touch your light without burning himself. Even Mirio and Nedre mentioned to him about how he had begun to step outside his comfort zone and how close the two of you had become. It took hours to psych himself up to walk up to you and say the most nerve-wracking and intense 4-word sentence. Will you date me? The moment you said yes made both the anxiety he felt ebb and the butterflies in his stomach want to leap out from his mouth from the sheer excitement. 6 months passed since you both had started dating, and soon you and him would be graduating, moving on to your careers as pro heroes. A new chapter in both of your lives, one where you both knew would make it hard to see each other outside of work. But that didn't stop you from asking him to move in with you, so of course he said yes immediately. Not long after moving in together, he began to picture a life with you. He wanted to get a cat and maybe a dog. There were even times when he dared to allow himself to think even further into the future. A future where the two of you had a kid, possibly 2 or 3. He knew that you would be a fantastic parent, and that thought excited him. On the night of your 3rd anniversary, Tamaki had gone out and bought an engagement ring. Nothing too fancy, so that you could be able to wear it under your glove while at work. He had everything planned for the night. First was a small dinner at the dinner table, i.e. the living room, kotatsu, where the two of you would eat your favorite foods, and when you were done, he would ask you to dance to 1 or 5 of your favorite songs. He loved you and wanted to show it to you. When the time for you to come home came and went, Tamaki had called you and texted you several times with no response. Worried that something may have happened, he quickly covered everything up and blew out the candles. As he was about to head for the entrance of your shared apartment, the front door flew open, and there you stood, disheveled and panting. Relief flooded through him as you apologized and relayed the day's events. Little did the two of you know how short-lived that relief would be. After his proposal and your tearful acceptance, dinner, dancing, and many hours of talking to friends and family, the two of you settled down to sleep. However, in the middle of the night, both of your phones lit up with a warning of a villain attack. Without a second thought, you both jumped out of bed and rushed to Fatcom's agency, where once you arrived and had changed into your hero costumes, you too were briefed on the villain and the situation and sent on your way. The fight was gruesome and bloody. It had lasted well into the early afternoon. Luckily, most of the damage was contained about 2 or 3 blocks, thanks to Tamaki's quick thinking by knocking the villain out. A small cry came from just below where the villain was laying, alerting the two of you to a trapped civilian. You looked over at Tamaki and knew that he was telling you to be safe by the look he was giving you. Carefully, you made your way over to where the crying was coming from. At the same time, Tamaki moved over to where the unconscious villain lay to place the quirk inhibitors around his hands. The moment you turned your back, that's when Tamaki was flung backwards and hit his head on the broken cement, knocking him out briefly. You didn't have time to react when he passed you, before a large hand grabbed hold of you. The next thing you knew was that the air was knocked out of you, and it hurt to take a breath. Then a searing pain erupted from your stomach as it snatched the last of your strength. The villain's hand released you, and your body fell limply to the floor. Tamaki's heartbreaking scream filled the void between you. Your heart was breaking with the thought of what was to come. Why? Why did this have to happen? And now, of all days, you had your whole life to live, plans that you and Tamaki had made just hours before, promises to fulfill. The sound of fighting filled your ears as you felt your body slowly cool. Tears welded up in your eyes as you willed your fingers to move with no response. You had to fight to stay awake, to stay for him. You loved your shy, passionate, and caring Sun Eater, your husband. All you needed to do was hold on for a little while longer. By the time Tamaki was able to subdue the villain and cuff him, your eyes had closed on their own. No, his brain began working in overdrive and was about to send him down a spiraling path when a small breath hitched in your throat. He had to get you to the hospital ASAP. Activating his quirk, he flew as fast as he could with the wings from the duck the two of you had had for dinner. The hospital took you immediately when he arrived, while he was immediately ushered into a private waiting room. Hours ticked by as the endless flow of friends and family moved around him. His mind kept replaying the battle over and over. Not being able to stop what had happened to you ate at him the longer you stayed in surgery. A day turned into a week, and your funeral was today. Your hometown had gathered in a parade to celebrate your life and your sacrifice. Your smiling face was plastered on every street corner and every sign, marking the day everyone would place you to rest. Friends and family came to check on Tamaki. No one, not even your parents, blamed Tamaki for not being strong enough to protect you, since they all saw the state he was in at the hospital. Instead, they were worried for him because he began reverting back to the Tamaki Amajiki he was before meeting you for the first time at UA. Going back to the way he once wasn't hard. It was painfully easy. In the following months after your death, he dove headfirst into his work. There had been many times his friends tried to set him up on dates, but every time he arrived to see another sitting alone waiting for him, he refused and usually paid for their meals and walked out. Months turned into a year, and Tamaki found himself standing in front of your grave, wishing you were still with him, with his entire being. He didn't realize that you were standing right next to him until you touched his hand. His eyes moved to you and widened the moment your face registered. Tamaki embraced you in a tight hug and begins to shake while asking how it was possible that he was able to see you, to touch you, feel your warmth. Sadness filled your eyes as you looked down at the man curled around her headstone. Indigo hair blew in the wind as a small blue butterfly landed on his cheek. He looked as though he was simply sleeping. Tamaki looked back up at you, grazed your cheeks with his fingertips, like he had done 1,000 times before. Your gaze met him as he pulled you in. I never want to be apart from you ever again. I love you forever and always, he whispered as he took your lips, finally able to quench his thirst. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this first fan fiction that I have done. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment. Just help me grow this channel, and I know there will be quite a few more fan fictions that I have in the works. It's just me getting them to the point where I know that I would be able to post several times a week, hopefully. But yeah, I look forward to doing more of these and look forward to hearing what you guys thought about my work. Thank you guys. Till next time.